Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to my talk after this last break. And I'm here to talk about reproducible builds in Ubuntu and what we could possibly do. A few words about me. I've been an Ubuntu, a Debian developer since 2015, and Ubuntu member since 2013. So I've been involved in Ubuntu for more than a decade, and in general free software for more than a decade now. Yeah. And since I don't think this has ever been presented to an Ubuntu attendance, I wanted to also introduce what this project is all about. And I will do this talking about a possible story, a story that is can be very, very realistic, actually. We talk about some developers. One is Alice, just your run-of-the-mill developer doing free software work. And she works in our software and she publishes her own software somewhere. But there can be secrets behind her life that people are not supposed to know. And who knows what can happen in her house, right? Then there is another developer, Bob, that actually works on a distribution like we do. And she does distribution work like compiling packages and distributing packages. And like all cool kids do nowadays, he builds his own packages on the cloud, like in somebody else's computers, right? And what can happen in that computer in the cloud? And then there is Carol, another random developer, but is very upstanding developer with a maid. And the maid, share the same spaces, and she works for her and has access to her laptop and everything. And I mean, I don't know. Once you access somebody's laptop, you can do whatever you want to that laptop. And I think you can see a problem that we can possibly have here. And everybody in this room can probably read the source code, understand what that source code is doing, but who can actually read a binary code? Because that's what our users are actually using normally. They use precompiled binaries and they run it and they trust us to compile them properly and distribute to them properly. And so can we trust that process? It's not clear, really. We have plenty of examples of how things can go wrong in the shared compilation and the distribution process. There are even plenty of backdoors, like some targeting source code, but some actually targeting the infrastructure we use to build that source code. And I mean, there are plenty of examples. So we can go back a lot in time, and there are plenty, really. Yeah, too many, honestly. These are just some of them that my colleague found on the internet, but yeah. So we have this problem, and I think we also can find a solution, honestly. And one solution our team, like our project, is trying to advertise is reproducible builds, which means starting from a source code, like the source code that is being published and we claim we are using, and building it and ensuring that this build is actually the same, no matter who builds it. So this means that if David is building something and then Erin is building something, they actually get the very same results, which is possibly meaning that it's actually the same source code and the same, like nothing was injected in it. But then if somebody comes around and they get something else, that it's a red flag. Like it could mean nothing, but it could mean something. And I mean, you need to verify. And what this means that Alice, the one that has some secret life going on, you can figure it out. And Bob can see that the data center where he's building his stuff is compromised, and Carol can find that the evil maid that was messing with her life. And also like the fact that even we are doing these checks, even if it doesn't unveil anything, it can mean that it can reduce the possibility of attacks because like it's harder to do, or it's easier to be spotted. And when we talk about reproducible builds, we actually talk about verifying that the final binary is bit by bit identical, like every single bit, not just mostly the same, or just checking the same build dependencies, or that the build actually happens every time and doesn't. No, it's actually bit by bit. It's yeah, it's that because we have many other projects, maybe not free software, but many other more corporate level projects that say, yeah, okay, the container is not the same, but the single binary file is the same. But it's easy once you start skipping stuff. You just go down a rabbit hole and nothing it doesn't work anymore. And yeah, it sounds cool, but there are issues in doing so. Like there are plenty of things during the compilation process that can vary. Like there are like the dictionary hashes and database ordering. That's fairly easy, but you need to remember to put sorted everywhere if it's relevant. Do timestamp everywhere. That's the main issue at the start because like everything was encoding the current timestamp when you were building, especially archives, but not only. Yeah, you have no idea the amount of software that was just embedding in like the about screen the compilation time, which sounds sensible, but it's actually not. Like you have no use in when was built. You want to like I don't know the commit that was built or something, not the time what was built, and random other stuff. Yeah. And it's difficult. I mean, we started with this like in Debian more than a decade ago, I think. And anyway, the problem was even older, and it's difficult. But we get something out of it. With not just the security aspect, we actually unexpectedly gained some QA results as well. So we actually got a minimal diff on the binaries, which turned out to be fairly relevant for security updates as well. So you can do like stable updates and security updates where you do the source changes, you build it, and you actually get like a minimal binary diff, which could be relevant for verifying that the security patch actually does what it claims to do. Like I remember, it wasn't advertised in the previous pictures, but there was a bug, I think OpenSSL or OpenSSH, like in 2003, where a single bit was actually causing, I think it was OpenSSH, and a single bit difference in the binary was causing a privilege escalation because of an off by one error. And that was one bit. So it's very, you can verify that easily that the single patch is actually fixing that one bit you care about. And well, for example, in developer bumps, you can verify that bumping developers doesn't change anything, for example. So there are good reasons to do it. And well, Ccache actually works nicely and better, actually. And you can use it to verify that like build dependencies are actually used. So you can drop the build dependencies and you check the output, and if it's the same, then that build dependency wasn't needed. And this helps like reducing the build dependency tree, which is relevant for who is working on like a bootstrapping stuff and that kind of things, which I don't know if anybody here in this room is actually interested in, but it's something. And we found a lot of bugs. And I have an example. Yeah, exactly like this. This we found in our continuous testing in Debian. We found these changes randomly in building a man page. And you see this, what is the part? This single O here. And we actually found a lot of such bugs. And this was due to undefined behavior on i386. So it wasn't visible on MD64, for example, but it was visible in sometimes, because it's undefined behavior, so sometimes it will be visible in i386. We found plenty of these things randomly, and this would be very difficult to catch otherwise. This is just an example. So as I said, Debian, we have been working for it since 2013, and we run this thing that somebody calls torture test because we built the whole archive twice, once like in a standard environment, and then we start messing with the environment, doing these. These are just some of the variations. Interestingly, the time and date we build 1 year in the future, so we actually spot some weird like future bugs that we will find normally in like in stable rebuilds, but we found them in advance, so more benefits. And so we run this for a decade now, and we started pretty badly, and we got pretty nicely after a while. It's also true that this 90-something% in 2018 is pretty much the same now, because it's apparently very hard to get to the end. who would have thought? But it looks great on a graph, I think, or maybe not, depending on how good you are at statistics. And well, we started in Debian, but when we expanded, we reached out to other communities, other distributions, and we have a bunch that joined us on our journey. In particular, of these, I want to highlight like Arch Linux is doing some great work on this, and well, also F-Droid they actually advertise like on the package page of something is reproducible, which is amazing. Then there is like I think it's a Geeks that there's like this challenge command that actually verify that something locally installed is reproducible. So we have projects that's actually working on this and showing it to the end user as well, not just hiding behind some developer documentation things. And of course, like random Debian derivatives. And as a community, like as a project, we also meet regularly. Like we try to meet regularly once a year. Actually, we just met this week in Hamburg, and it's quite interesting because we got these different communities, different projects meeting together, and everybody with their own needs, everybody with their own point of view or something. Yeah, everybody has different idea of how you should ship libraries to the end user. So it's quite interesting, yes. But then it comes to Ubuntu. Like I've been working in Ubuntu before Debian, but this work has all been done in Debian, which is kind of I don't know. It's interesting for me because over the years I tried to check with Ubuntu developers, and especially last year at the last Ubuntu summit, I don't know, stopped people on the hallways and say like, "Do you have a minute to talk about reproducible builds?" And I had conflicting answers to this and mixed signals from different people. And so before coming here, I figured I will just try and see what I got out of it. This was the idea when I submitted for this talk, but I submitted in July, I believe. And this was way too in the future, so I figured I will just do it later on. Like I really wanted to do this, and I tried this. I tried with main, which is a subset of full Ubuntu, which is easier on any machines to build on the wall of the archive. And very quickly, and I did it like in the middle of the night during a different conference, so like the quality of my test is limited, like losing packages somewhere. But but so I built 2,377 packages out of main, and of these, in a very basic situation, so I actually didn't rebuild in the future, for example, because I forgot. But 95% of what I built was actually reproducible fairly easily. Nothing done to it. And actually a very small amount, just not even 60 packages were unreproducible, which is cool, actually. I'm sure most of this is actually coming from the work we've done in Debian, of course. But it's also true that in this list, I don't remember, I should check the list somewhere, but of these, there are several packages that are specific to Ubuntu. Like notoriously, Ubuntu only packages are kind of, at least to my knowledge, they are mostly not well maintained from a packaging point of view. Like Canonical does code very well, but the packaging depends on who picks it up, not only. And then I actually had a bunch that I failed to build, which is not good. I suppose I should file bugs for that. I will do it later. So it's actually a good situation to have, honestly. It's not a bad point, just a starting point to think of this. And this is just rebuilding, of course. This is just the first steps we go through to verify that you can get something out of it. But most importantly is being able to verify what is actually being distributed to the user, which is a slightly different problem than just rebuild twice. And for these matters, actually, Ubuntu is well placed. Actually, amongst all the distribution I work on, and this is for build info. Like build infos were a type of file that was introduced in 2000 and like 16 or 17, I believe. Yeah, more or less. And at the start, I knew that many Ubuntu developers were kind of upset about this random file popping up and not knowing what to do with it. Also, Launchpad is still not very happy with them. And but this file actually contains pretty much all the information you should need to rebuild the package to be able to like reconstruct the environment the original package was built in. So we get like the source name and the version and like the ashes of the artifacts you got out of it, so of ashes of the debs, and like the build path, which is sadly, in my opinion, embedded way too often in binaries, and is just kind of gave up on removing it from the binaries, and the list of build dependencies and their versions that were installed at the time it was built, together with some environment variables. And so to do this, we develop a couple of programs that you can use to like take a build info and like create a change route with those packages and then run the build. And I didn't have time to do this for Ubuntu, but I'm optimistic for that. But as I was saying, Ubuntu is well placed for this because Launchpad is storing everything. Thanks to Colin, that when build info were introduced in just like few days after they were introduced, it like patched Launchpad so they will store the build info and not discard them like they originally did in Debian actually. And well, so they were stored. Also, it's not to further. Yeah, but there is just one last problem for this, which is this bug, which Simon has been working on very nicely, which is actually exposing those build info, because the build info has been stored in Ubuntu since they were introduced, but like just hidden away in the object storage of Launchpad, which is nice, but could be better. And Simon wrote a patch for this, which is still pending applying. Hopefully it will be done soon. So once that is applied, Launchpad can just expose via API like the build info and all the packages that were available, which is not something that other distributions do. Most distributions just throw away old builds, or they are just very hard to find somewhere. And so it will be good. Also, there's another aspect about the build info, which is SPOM, which is something very cool that happened during the last 3 years. And basically, build info contains everything you need to put in an SPOM. Somebody just 2 weeks ago wrote a script that converts a build info into a I don't remember if it's an SPDX or the other format for SBOM, I believe, and it was valid SBOM. So we actually have everything that is enough to provide the starting point of an SBOM. Of course, you can just expand SBOM forever, but we got them already, basically, which is something. So the goal of my talk here was actually to find if the Ubuntu community was interested in this actually, because I mean I could just start building Ubuntu, but since I got mixed signals and everything, I wasn't sure like if people actually were interested in this or were even aware of the project. Like how many of this audience actually heard about reproducible builds before here? Wow, that's amazing. Not like 90% of you, which is good. And so what do you think of this? Like, anybody have any opinion? Whoa. Yeah.
Something which is good in Debian.
Oh.
Yeah, something which is very good in Debian, I think, to get this actually done is the fact that, for example, there are lots of automated checks, and you get as a maintainer, for example, the bug information from, and also I think some janitor auto fixes or something.
Well, not for reproducible builds, but
yeah, but still, I mean, I got on the package I went on Debian, I got lots of bugs that so eventually get fixed. While, for example, that kind of integration that's known in Launchpad at all, or so that would be, for example, a very good starting point, I guess.
You know that in Debian we are very very near. It might happen before end of the year, but who knows? We actually plan to block test immigration on reproducible builds, which is going to upset everybody.
As it always does when you add a check.
One question that happened is Is there any standardized way of publishing build info files? Because, for example, sure, Launchpad can publish it in a unique place, but it would have been helpful to be able to publish it in the apt archive alongside the debs in a way that would be the same for all .deb based distributions, right? Because that didn't happen in Debian, did it?
No, it didn't. This is actually a very short point. We had we tried a lot to do this, but the FTP team was actually against it because this is our many small files, and it will just blow up the inode number, and they were uncomfortable with that. Both, well, also for the mirroring side, because suddenly you start mirroring like thousands of small files, which is AirSync is not good at. But I mean, if you have any good idea or you should mirror that or anyway publish build info, you should totally join us and figure a way actually.
I think this work is really valuable because all contributors are working from their home, and everybody has his own setup, which may be secure or maybe insecure. What I wonder is, did you find any differences between the architectures, or you say, no, once we have fixed one source package on all architectures, it is then reproducible?
Right. We did like the example I shown that was only on i386. It wasn't visible on ARM. It wasn't visible on AMD64. And that's just the only architecture we try on. But yeah, we did find architecture-specific variations, and they're annoying to test, but yes, we did. On the plus side, we've verified several times accidentally, it's not like continuously tested, that cross builds and native builds are actually reproducible most of the time. Which, yeah.
So I've a excuse me, more of a detailed answer for the for his question. My patch currently, I believe, just publishes those build info files with the rest. Rest of the files in the archive, kind of like what you were describing. And it is a draft patch so far, so I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be the final functionality. That being said, if you have a DSC file link, you can just use dgit, and it'll pull down all the files, including build info file, assuming Launchpad exposes it. So, Simon? Yes, I have.
Okay, Simon. Okay, Simon. Hi, I'm Jürgen. I'm the Launchpad maintainer.
Oh,
the new one?
And Colin, who did great work already, unfortunately leaves us next month, so it looks like we need to work together. Can have a look at the patch when I'm back from Riga. I've seen you have written no tests.
so yeah, that was Colin's point. He said, looks good as just a cursory look, but it needs some automated testing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, since that point, I've moved to my local Launchpad instance. It was mostly on accident, but
we will look to make this easier to set up. I mean,
to be fair, it is pretty easy to set up these days. It is, there's the documentation. You just do it in a 2004 LXD container, but it does take a couple hours.
Anyway, it's not the last, but
and one of the questions would be: is this all you need from Launchpad, or is there something else where you could?
That's a good question. I don't think I have an answer to that. It depends on what we want to go to, actually. If we want to just publish the build info and have third-party verifies it, which is like the actual goal, like you should get third-party verify your build. You shouldn't verify yourself. Doesn't make sense. But yeah, we like as a community, we need to decide where do we want to stop. Like maybe we want to like collect the reproducibility data from third parties and like store it and expose it somewhere. Like because we at every summit, like every reproducible build summit, we have several sessions talking about end users. How do we expose this status to the end user? What we want to from them? Like there were like proof of concept patches for apt, for example, just pulling the data that our rebuilders do and block installation on reproducibility. Do we want it? I mean, it's something we need to discuss, and I don't know. I think, however, exposing build info is definitely like something blocking, and we should start from there.
My question is about the build info file format and extensibility of it, because, for example, for some of the packages, sometimes you need extra data which was randomly generated at the time of the build. And obviously you would want to encode that in the build info, because then you would need to reuse it to make sure that you can reproduce the build. Is that something trivially possible? Because all the build info files I've seen before, they were sort of fixed format, fixed amount of stuff with no extra fields which are like unique to me.
Right. So theoretically, this should be everything you need. So currently, we treat if you need anything else, we treat it as a bug. Honestly.
We generate ephemeral keys during the build.
Right. You shouldn't.
Of the kernel, because that's one of the security threat features rather than a bug.
Right. I mean, we should discuss
and you can reproduce the build if you have a place to store the public key, because then every reproducible build will embed the same public key and get the same build out of it, right?
Right.
It's just I need a place to store the seeds that I've used during the build, such that your reproducible build will be the same if you use the same seed I did.
I mean, if these seeds are public material, why are not part of the source?
Oh, because it's unique on each build.
I mean, we should probably discuss this separately, but there have been several discussions about like cryptographic materials and how to best deal with it. So if it's about signatures, normally the solution is you should store the touch signature as part of the source. Like you sign locally, you are assuming reproducible bits, so you sign locally, attach it, and upload. If you generate keys on the fly, that's a different topic. We should probably discuss it, but this discussion will probably go into the actual threat model and solutions to that.
Okay, so I'm going to ask something different, which is obviously the last 7% of the packages are going to be a problem, but do you have is there an overwhelming reason for the last 7% to be a problem? Or is it like every possible reason not to do, like in Debian, right? Debian stabilizing 93%-ish. Like, is there, do you have all of the possible reasons for someone not doing it, or is it like one?
No, there is no one single reason. Like all of these, so from what I saw in the past years, these are all single packages that need to be touched. And once you touch a package, you get a regression in the one you just fixed. And you just keep cycling. So there is that, and plus there is a few packages like LibreOffice, which is like a massive amount on reproducibilities and it's just a pain to build. It's LibreOffice is of course in this this list here, of course, because just Linux Ubuntu main has too many kernels packages. So some I built and then I just gave up. And honestly, if those were the two annoying ones. So like LibreOffice has many reasons for being reproducible. Some were worked on, but then we just procrastinated on the remaining issues. And there are many cases, of course, that we fixed. We sent a patch, it was fixed, and then it just got reverted at some point without telling anybody. So yeah, it just keeps getting worse. So the solution will be to just start gating on this topic, on this on reproducibility, and then regression won't be introduced. And this 97 depends how you count. It will get to the finish line. Like there is no in Debian, at least there is no unreproducible package that is like we don't know what to do with that. Like we do have solution for all of them. Maybe controversial, maybe not agreed on by the maintainer, but we do have solution for everything. If we had the chance to just upload everything without telling anybody.
A quick question: is this build info file specific for the Debian packages, or is this also maybe for Python packages or for Golang or for others?
All right. So when we started doing this effort, we were thinking a lot about the build info file because it's something that is useful for everything actually. And we tried, but we came to the conclusion, especially after the first summit in 2015, I believe, that there was no chance to make it the same for everybody. Like now, as Bomb came by, honestly, and I personally am interested in figuring out if SBOM can actually replace build infos. if there was one single SBOM format, but we don't have that. But no, so this is specific to Debian packages, also because this is Debian 822, which nobody but Debian distribution like it, honestly. Like nobody likes to pass this. But for example, like Arch Linux has this build info that is basically a bash script, similar to their package build file, which is like bash. And like SUSE also has something that is, I don't remember how it was done, but it was like specific format for SUSE and so on. So no, we don't have anything specific for like package distribution. Language packages.
Yeah. I wonder, as this is security relevant, I mean, for people running software in production, they want to be able to trust their software. Shouldn't this be a requirement before you accept a package into Debian or Ubuntu that it's reproducible, and otherwise say, no, it's bad, we don't accept it, fix it?
Yeah, this is exactly what I would like, but and probably what we are actually getting in Debian. In Ubuntu, I'm getting started now, so who knows? Also, like I'm saying, these people here, you all seems to be pretty like accepting and interested in this task and this endeavor. But yeah, even like this morning, I was talking to somebody else. They were like, "No, I don't think here." Like, yeah, so.
Could you highlight some of the differences between source build info files and binary info files, build info files? Because I know there's two separate variations of it.
Yeah, technically, but no, there is no difference actually.
Really?
Yeah, so like the one in first. Debian package build is very quirky, so technically the source of a package build is an unpacked Debian, like an unpacked directory. That's the source for the package purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So like the source package is actually the artifact of the source build of the unpacked directory. Whatever. So the source build info file is just having architecture source, and here is listing DSC and origin, RGZ and everything. That's the only difference. It still lists like all the build dependencies that are installed are listed here as usual. That's the only thing.
And then just a really quick follow-up to that. On the source build info files, if you're generating that locally as a user, I see there's environment variables there. How many environment variables does that actually expose if you're just doing like dbuild tag?
Right. The package has a white list of variables, of environment variables that is going to save there for privacy reasons.
Okay.
Similar actually to the build path, also the package has a white list of paths that is going to do. So like if you build on your home directory, this field is not present because that will leak your home user and like eventual other paths.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's very privacy friendly for some reason. That the package maintainer was very fixated on this. What? We were like a lot of time, I think.
So thanks for your work. I'd like to see reproducible builds on Ubuntu, and it would be great to start with main and have main 100% reproducible. So first question, will you file bug reports for the unreproducible packages that you found?
I mean, for sure, I will look at the diff, which I didn't. so maybe, most likely, I might. Or I might file them in it depends. So we'll first my work plan for these 40 something what were like for whatever. So my working plan was to check if those reproducible packages are the same in Debian. If they are, probably do nothing. And if they are the Ubuntu specific, most likely I will at least look at the diff and see what is actually afflicting them and probably file a patch on it, or just, I don't know, fix it. I'm a core dev, so I might actually be able to fix them. And yes. So since I'm actually having a positive response for Rizzolo, I might actually start a small CI thing to just keep rebuilding stuff. Because I mean, we have it for Debian. It's fairly easy to set it up if you have like a few days to work on it.
That would be my second question. If you have a setup, this continuous builds to have an overview page where you see which packages are reproducible, which are not. So if people are interested, that they can go on that page and see, okay, what package I could start fixing.
Yeah, since there is interest, I may do that actually, and so I can actually expose some data and not skip the packages that I don't like, and and then share with like Ubuntu devel people.
And
So-
even it would be interesting to have some kind of DD list where you say, okay, have a list of the unreproducible packages and the people who did the recent uploads to that, so that I can see did I touch a package recently that is unreproducible.
do we ever do like the list for Ubuntu?
No, I think
I mean, it's only 40 packages, so I think if it's just that, so it shouldn't be too hard. That is actually very cool. Like, I'm sure this audience is biased compared to what we have outside, but yeah, it's nice actually. Nice to know that you were people looking forward to this in Ubuntu as well, which is not expected. And can I imagine anybody of you like attending the next summit in 1 year from now, like a Reproducible Builds summit, not Ubuntu? So maybe someone who knows. Okay. Shoot. Oh, right. I had actually this question here, like if anybody wanted to work, like help us and work with us. We are very old style. We don't do Discourse. We don't do like Telegram or anything like that. We actually do mailing list, a lot of mailing list and IRC on FTC, because this is like this Reproducible Builds channel is like a cross distribution, cross packages. We have people from all sorts of distribution in that channel, and also, and not just distribution, also like people working on well, F-Droid, if you consider it distribution maybe, but like from time to time comes people like from the cargo world, or from also the one working on Maven and npm. Like we have people from all sorts of projects, which is nice. So if like also Ubuntu people want to join and just lurk and see what sorts of random problems pop up, it's very also interesting to see the shenanigans that some developers do. Yeah, if you want that, we will need somebody that knows how to build a snap. I don't. So, so if you want to get involved and try that, honestly, is it?
In the sense that mixing lots of sources from various regions.
Right.
It's technically possible.
I mean, you could start by providing a patch to DefaScope so it can unpack the snap. You know.
Yeah, the one problem with the snaps is that some people in Snapcraft YAML, they just say, I take this tag, and if upstream decides to force push a new version of the same tag, we would build a different snap. And so it's to get reproducible there, one would really have to force that people use hashes instead of tags, which some projects don't like.
I mean, aren't you saving all the sources on Snapcraft?
No, if you upload a snap, you can build it on Ubuntu and get on the Ubuntu Launchpad, and you will get the binaries back. But you have to still upload them, and many snaps are not uploaded directly from Launchpad. It's not like the archive,
Right.
and nobody forces you to provide sources for the snaps that you publish. You could. Often you don't even find the link to the homepage for a snap.
And this is not a GPL violation? Okay. But yes, please do follow us on the mailing list or IRC. That's nice. If you do Twitter, you can, whatever. I don't.